I'm officially back after a 4-month hiatus. So really happy to go through my haul here with you guys. So stay tuned to find out what I got. Hey guys, it's Mandak coming at you with another haul video. So welcome into haul video 166, guys. So as you can see, I am in a new place. About a couple of months ago, my wife and we moved into a new townhome. So we've been living here for about a month or so. And just as a forewarning here, you might hear my cat cry in the background just because she doesn't like to be left alone. So if you hear that, that's kind of what's going on, but she's okay. I'm gonna record this and then I'll go be with her for a little bit. But anyways, guys, thank you for jumping into this haul. So as I mentioned in the intro here, I have moved into a new place. So you can kind of see behind me the different little studio setup that's going on here. So this may change. I can already tell there's probably one thing I'm gonna move is probably this lamp when I'm doing these hauls, just so you can see the art behind me. But yeah, it's good. A lot bigger setup here for what I have in here, a lot more open. So the only thing I hope is okay is the lighting. I'm doing this filming this during the day, so that should help, obviously. But yeah, anyways, guys, it's been a very busy couple of months, just with work and some other personal things going on. I've also started my next class for my master's, so just very busy right now. And obviously with moving recently, didn't really have a great opportunity to sit down and do a haul video. So most of these books and these things have kind of been packed away for a while, and just felt like today was a good opportunity to take them out and go through the haul. So yeah, we'll go through this stuff. I have some Lego and some comic stuff to go through. So we'll start off with the comics as we normally do, and we'll get into the Lego. So let's do that. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to the comic section of this haul. So as I mentioned, this haul has probably been the last, I want to say about 3 or 4 months worth of collecting, which, looking at it, it seems like a big stack, but honestly, like for almost a quarter of a year's worth of collecting, I think it's pretty good financially for me to not have that much to show. So obviously, as I mentioned before in the past, with having Marvel Unlimited and Global Comics now, like I pretty much can access most of the comics I want to read digitally. So I don't really buy a lot of Marvel books anymore. I did buy some here that I'll show, but most of the stuff here is other publishers. But before I get into that, I do want to talk about what I've been reading. So obviously, it's been quite a while since I've done a haul video, so I'm not going to bore you guys with all of the things I've been reading. I will talk about kind of the 3 reading things I've been doing this year. And that is the Fantastic Four, Superman, and Thunderbolts reading that I've been doing, obviously in preparation for all 3 of those movies that are coming out later this year. So I'll start with Superman. I'll put some images up on the screen here of kind of what I've been reading. But I have finished the Man of Steel collections, mostly written by John Byrne, but other writers were included in those. Really enjoyed those Superman books. They definitely sped up a lot more as we got through to like the 3rd and 4th volumes. I was really chugging through those. I think I finished the last one on my honeymoon with my wife, so that was some good reading on the beach there for that. And right now I'm in the 2nd collection of Superman and Batman by Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness, I want to say, is the main artist for those books. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been reading for Superman. I've read some other stuff too, like Death of Superman, and I'm kind of just jumping around a little bit. I kind of screwed up my reading order a little bit with Superman, but my plan is to read all of my Superman books that I have in my collection before the movie comes out in July, which I won't have an issue with for that, that's for sure. So yeah, really excited for that. And was really looking for a good excuse to read my Superman books. Not like, I need an excuse to read books, right? Well, I can hear Luna trying to get into the door. But yeah, well, like I said, I am really excited to read it and to finish up my read through here. So yeah, if there's any recommendations of other books that you guys would recommend, let me know. But I do have one Superman book to show here in this in this haul that I'll show. So we'll see how that goes. And then secondly, we have Thunderbolts. So Thunderbolts is pretty straightforward. I have the first 3 omnibus of Thunderbolts, and this is the early or the late 90s, early 2000s run of Thunderbolts. So basically volume 1. I have that all collected in the 3 omnibus. I think there's technically 5 or 6 omnibus out there for Thunderbolts, but I think the 4th one is like the 2nd volume or something. And then you have an omnibus that has like the Thunderbolts from the Dark Reign era, right, where Norman Osborn, kind of takes over the world and has all these villains become, masquerade as heroes. I think what's her name? Carla Sofen, Meteorite, the character that's actually in this book. She poses as Miss Marvel. And I do remember reading that in the Miss Marvel collections that I had read a couple years ago, where there's like this whole arc where Meteorite and Carol Danvers actually like throw down and fight each other. So those were really fun issues. I like those. But yeah, so I'm almost done with the 2nd omnibus. It's just been a really slow go, just because I've been traveling for work, and obviously I'm not going to pack an omnibus to come with me on the plane, and the reading order is a little wonky with the 2nd book because you have all these like mini series with Citizen V and everything. But overall, my thoughts though, I really like it. The concept is just amazing. The only thing that really sucks about reading all this is that I know they're not going to use any of these characters in the movie. Obviously, the movie is using MCU characters for all this stuff and just kind of keeping the same general concept of what the Thunderbolts are. So that kind of sucks. At the very least, I hope we get like a cameo of one of these characters. Like, I would assume that the most likely cameo we'll probably get is Citizen V, because, Baron Zemo is the one who kind of takes over the reins of Citizen V and disguises as him in the beginning. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm I'm sorry if you can hear Luna crying in the background. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But overall, really enjoying the series, and as I said, just 3 omnibus for that. Maybe I will go further and read some of the more modern stuff, but for right now, I think I'm okay just reading those 3 omnibus and going to see the movie, which is coming out in May. So I don't think I'll have an issue finishing this omnibus before the movie comes out. I definitely have. I'd like a month and a half to finish an omnibus. I think I can do that. The one run that I definitely don't think I'm gonna finish in time is the Fantastic Four run. So I just finished the 4th Epic Collection today, so I've read the first 4 Epic Collections of Fantastic Four. So the first one being World's Greatest Magazine, the second one, and I'm just looking over here on my shelf because they're right next to me. The second one is the Master Plan of Dr. Doom. The third one was The Coming of Galactus, which I really enjoyed. That was my first time reading through the actual Galactus storyline. So it did not disappoint. It was very, just very like high scale, like high stakes type of Silver Age stuff. I really enjoyed reading that. And the one I just recently finished was the Mystery of the Black Panther. So again, that's the introduction of Black Panther. I didn't read those issues again just because I read them in the Black Panther Epic Collection years ago at this point. But really enjoyed that. I think at this point here, like, this book is really starting to get its steam. You know, we've obviously had the marriage of Sue and Reed, and just recently I read in annual number 5 the announcement of Sue being pregnant. So and then obviously, you know, I think halfway through the last Epic Collection was when we got introduced to the Inhumans. So they're playing a much bigger role in the storylines of these books. Obviously, Crystal and Johnny being together is one of the plot threads there, and also the whole thing with Black Bolt and Medusa, which again, this just reminds me of how disappointing it is that the MCU did not get those characters right and pretty much butchered them and put them on ice for God knows how much longer. I'm hopeful that the Fantastic Four movies will reintroduce them again, and this time will do their characters justice, just because of how linked the Inhumans are to the Fantastic Four in this early stuff. I would like to see that done again, if at all possible. But as I said, you know, I definitely do not think I'm going to finish this run of Fantastic Four before July. I just, you know, at the pace I'm going, and just because of how long it takes for me to read through Silver Age stuff, just because it's so wordy and so dense. I definitely don't think I'm going to finish it before July, but not a big deal. I'll just continue my read through the movie. But again, I'm really enjoying this read through right now. You know, I have a bunch of stuff left to read, so we'll see. And I'm sorry if you can hear Luna crying. But yeah, so there's that. But yeah, so I guess without going into further details, like, that is what I've been reading. So those are my 3 big chunks. And I guess going forward now, I'll give you more exact updates on what I'm reading every time I do a haul here. So, but yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this haul. So these first 2 books I picked up from this local comic book store near me. And I'll drop their address and their name, but I think it's AA Comics. And I'm almost certain the AA does not stand for Alcoholics Anonymous. But yeah, it's this really nice comic book store that's in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. It was very, very, it was a very good experience to walk in there. They had half-price trade paperback and graphic novel bins. They have dollar issue bins. They have back issues. They have statues. They have comic supplies. They have everything that someone like me looks for in an LCS. So much so that if my friends are watching this, I definitely am going to promote it to go out here and check them out. If my friends ever come out this way, I definitely would like to take them to go to the shop, because I definitely think that a lot of them would be able to find stuff for their collection in there. The owner was so down to earth. He came up to us, greeted us, and you know, I was having conversations, and we were joking about, like, you know, compendiums and how big they are, and very, very nice guy. Very good deals, very good prices. And I would definitely recommend anyone who's looking for comics in central Pennsylvania, which it is pretty slim pickings throughout this area here. This store is definitely worth the trip. So with that said, I will show the 2 books I picked up. The first book here is Batman Beyond Rebirth, Volume 1. So it's funny, when I got this in the car, I almost thought for a second I had this book, and I don't, so that's good. I didn't buy another copy of a book that I already had. But yeah, so I think I might have mentioned this in the past when I talked about the Batman Beyond Compendium. But you know, growing up, one of the first video games I ever played was Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, I think it was, on the Game Boy. So obviously I had I had an affinity for Batman Beyond in particular. So saw this was half off of the cover price, so I wanted to pick this up. And I guess I'll be collecting Batman Beyond Rebirth from now on. Really like Dan Jurgens. Hasn't been many things I've read from Dan Jurgens that I've disliked. So I'm really excited to read this and hopefully collect more of these. Maybe the next time I'm in a Second and Charles, I'll look to see if I can find some more volumes of Batman Beyond. So there's that. Really great to get that. Next book I got here, as I said before, I've been reading Superman stuff, and obviously with the Man of Steel collections, there was a lot of stuff that was left out from John Byrne's runs and kind of his work with Superman. So a couple of those titles that my friends told me to find, one of them was The World of Krypton. So that was the book I was able to find here for about $10. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. Cover price on this is $15. So, I from what I've heard though, I think this is a little bit harder to find. And obviously with DC, their reprinted collections are not always the best to keep in stock. But yeah, this is a mini series here of Superman. Obviously, as you can tell from the title, there's a lot of focus on Krypton in this book. So the artist here is Mike Mignola. So yeah, really excited to read this. Sorry I didn't show art from the Batman Beyond book. But yeah, we'll give this a read maybe sometime soon. Again, like I said, I'm not really keeping a super crazy, very particular order of what I've been reading of Superman, but I'll definitely have to go back and read this at some point. So really nice to pick this up, and maybe next time I'm there, I'll look through and see if I can find the other two, which they're also called The World of Something, but I don't remember what the rest of those other two were called. My friend Mike gave me those recommendations, so I'm really glad to find that for a decent price. All right, these next chunks of books are from two separate Book Outlet One orders that I made. One of them I made right after Christmas, just because they were having a additional 20% off sale of the price of some of the stuff, so I've jumped on that. And then recently here, I saw from a page on Facebook that they restocked a bunch of stuff, including some Epic collections that have kind of run through their system and are being discounted a little bit more. So although I am mad because as soon as I placed this order, they had they ran another sale right after it. So I'm like, dang, but still got them for a decent deal. So a huge chunk. I think the rest of these books, minus one of them or two of them, are from Book Outlet One. So I'll kind of explain as I go here. The first book here is Friday, book 2. So this is Ed Brubaker, Marcos Martin, and Musa Vincente. Sorry if I butchered those names. But yeah, so this is an Ed Brubaker book. This is with not Sean Phillips, but a different artist. So really excited to read that. Don't really have a lot of Ed Brubaker books that are not drawn by Sean Phillips. But regardless, this is great. I believe I only need the 3rd volume now, and I think that's it. I think there's only 3 volumes of this series. So you can see it's a little bit smaller in size. It's kind of like a digest size book, but really excited to get that for a decent price there. Next one I bought here was a complete collection, I want to say. It's from Image. It's called The Mighty, and this is by Peter Tomasi, sorry. So obviously I'm a big fan of Peter Tomasi. I've read some of his DC stuff, even when I was doing the Crackle Comics podcast with Vince and Mike. We read a lot of books with Peter Tomasi. I think he did a lot of Detective Comics stuff, which I really liked. And just, his writing in general, I very much vibe with. So this book I bought because it's kind of like a complete 12-issue series. So pretty nice here. This art looks a lot, or actually it is Chris Samney. So again, that's another reason why I kind of bought this too. I'm a big Chris Samney fan. Just thinking about his Daredevil stuff. Also, I haven't read it yet, but I haven't read the whole series yet, but his Firepower run with Robert Kirkman. So yeah, really, really, really excited to read this, and this art is going to be great. So yeah, really hyped to get that. That wasn't something on my radar, but wanted to jump on that. All right, these next two books here I bought from a more recent order from Book Outlet One, and these are two epic collections that I kind of passed on initially just because they were not really on my radar too much to get. But I wanted to get these because they run a much better sale here. So the first one here is Daredevil, The Root of All Evil Epic Collection. So this collects issues 333 through 344 of Daredevil, as well as Elektra, Root of Evil, numbers 1 through 4. So I don't believe I have that mini series of Elektra. But yeah, so this is, you know, so as I mentioned before on previous haul videos, I pretty much have finished all of my Daredevil read-through. Well, not anymore, obviously, because I bought this book. But yeah, I wanted to, you know, I wanted to pick this up because it was, I think, around 20 bucks, maybe a little less than that for this epic, which unfortunately in today's market, that's a pretty good deal for epics nowadays. So I wanted to pick this up, and this is continuing a run of Daredevil that I have here. So yeah, wanted to get this. Like I said, you know, this is, I wouldn't say this is the cream of the crop with Daredevil per se, but still a gap that I wanted to fill for one of my favorite characters there. Next epic collection I bought here was one that I bought just because there are so many miniseries in here that I wanted to make sure that I got the order correct for this character, and also it was on a decent sale, and that is Venom Volume 7, The Hunger. So this collects a lot of miniseries by Venom, as I mentioned. This collects Venom The Hunger, numbers 1 through 4, Venom Tooth and Claw, numbers 1 through 3, Venom on Trial, numbers 1 through 3, Venom License to Kill, numbers 1 through 3, Seed of Darkness, number -1, Venom Sign of the Boss, numbers 1 through 2, Spider-Man The Venom Agenda, and Venom Finale 1 through 3. So a lot of stuff represented here, 1996 to 98 to be exact, but you can see here Daredevil. So there you go, crossover. But yeah, this looks like it's gonna be a lot of like fun 90s reading here. Just a lot of action. You know, whenever I feel like Venom is a lot of people's guilty pleasure book when it comes to reading, just because there's not a lot of substance going on in these books. It's mostly just action and violence and just a lot of stuff going on. So I think this will be a fun little guilty pleasure to read at some point. And it's crazy to think now, I'm looking at my shelf, I think I have probably about 3 or 4 epic collections now of Venom. So there you go. I don't know where that all came out about all of a sudden, but nonetheless, here we are. So there's that. So I'm really excited to read that, and you know, hopefully we'll get through that pretty quickly. This next book, just interrupting kind of my book outlet orders for a second, was actually a book I got from my friend. He accidentally bought the hardcover and the paperback of this book, and he didn't need this anymore, and I'm like, oh, I'll read it, because it was Jim Starlin and it's Batman, so obviously say no more. And that is Batman the Cult. So yeah, he sold this to me for 10 bucks, you know, half off the cover price of 20. So this is really interesting. I love Jim Starlin. This is some nice reprinted stuff, which I think was kind of hard to find for a while there, and then they reprinted it. So I think this is going to be an absolute treat to read, and I'm really excited to read this. So I have to give a shout out to my friend Ed for selling me this. You know, sorry that you ordered 2 of them, or ordered 2 copies, different formats, but yeah, really excited to read this. Like I said, Jim Starlin's one of my favorite writers, and I'm really excited to see what that book's all about. All right, next book I got here, also from Book Outlet One, and this is also another really random one that I found from Image, and that is Sci-Spy. So this is Doug Munch, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. So yeah, this is a really, and Paul Galucci. So pretty good combo here. Yeah, obviously Doug Munch, I've read a lot of his Moon Knight stuff. I think I've read 3 or 4 epic collections of that. And it's funny, Moon Knight was one of the first characters that I decided to start reading in preparation for his show that came out in March of 2022. So that just tells you kind of where I started this whole, like, picking books based off of shows that are coming out in preparation. Kind of helps build the anticipation in my eyes. But yeah, we'll give this a read here. This is some of his independent work, and just looking at the book, it looks like it's old, but like I don't know. I mean, it's the printing's pretty nice, so maybe it is older because, you know, in today's day and age they don't print on good paper like this anymore. But yeah, really excited to find out what this is about. Looks like some sci-fi fun, so we'll see. I'll report back. May end up selling it. We'll see. It's really funny too, because when I was going through these books and ordering them, right, obviously I have a Global Comics subscription, which has a lot of Image and other like independent publishers on there. And before I bought most of these books, I actually searched for them on that site because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't already on there and I wasn't going to be spending money on something that I could read online. But yeah, for all these books, so they weren't on there. So, you know, just goes to show that there's just so much independent stuff out there that's just so hard to find in some places. And, you know, every once in a while you get a little diamond in the rough there. So, all right, next book I got here is a graphic novel from IDW. And obviously, you know, I'm from the like southeastern side of Pennsylvania, so obviously big Philadelphia sports fan. I think I've touched on that numerous times on this podcast, or not podcast, on this channel. So I saw this, and obviously I knew about this like segment of Philly. So I did not know there was a graphic novel written about it, and that is called Fishtown. So this is written by IDW. Kind of a crime novel based around Fishtown, which is a section of Philly. And it's all kind of like monochromatic in yellow or so. So yeah, like I said, something else that didn't really pop up on my radar, but I definitely think this is going to be kind of a quick read type of vibe, and really excited to see what this one's about. So there's Fishtown for you. All right, getting down here into the pile. This one I found also on Book Outlet One for a really crazy price. So I remember when this series was coming out, my friends were reading it. We were reviewing it on the Crackle Comics podcast, and I never ended up reading it just because I heard it was good, and I was like, maybe I'll wait for a trade. I saw a couple trades floating around in stores, but they weren't really decently priced. And sure enough, my patience paid off because I was able to find a hardcover of this series, and I think this is the entire series. I don't think there's more collections coming out, but if there is, I'll be on the lookout. But that series is The Good Asian. So again, this was coming out, geez, I want to say probably about 4 or 5 years ago at this point. And this is, I guess, apparently the 1936 collection. Which I think is just like the stylistic like name they're giving this for that era, because that's kind of where it's based off of. But yeah, as you can see from the front, this is a Will Eisner winner. So obviously some good stuff in a nice Image hardcovers. I will say Image probably does the best hardcovers of any publisher. You know, not needing a dust jacket is a bold move, and they make it work. So really excited to read this. I got this for like a crazy sale, like I said. I think I may have paid like $15 for this or something, which this goes for $40. So really good deal there. But anyways, we'll give this a read at some point. I'm really glad I got this in this nice format there. And the last book I bought was one that I kind of tossed back and forth, because when I bought the first volume of this series in Omnibus, I was committed to buying the second half of it in Omnibus as well. And sure enough, it came out on IST. This book cover price was $125, so on IST it was retailing for like $70 or something. So sure enough, I waited, and I was able to get this for, I want to say, about $55. I think I paid $55 or so for this, because I had it was 65, I think, on, or it might have been 75, I can't remember. It was a certain price on Target.com, and there was a coupon for $10 off a purchase of at least $60 or more. So I was able to apply that for this and get this for a pretty decent price for an omnibus. And I think we were getting to the point where this book was close to going out of print. So I didn't want to play around too much and miss out on this again. And that book is Avengers by Kurt Busiek and George Perez, Volume 2. So picked this up, got this for a really good deal. The only thing I kind of goofed on with this is that I bought the art, the one with the art on the side here, versus the first volume is just the red. So that's gonna look a little silly on my shelf, but I really don't care. You know, I just am glad I have this collection in its entirety now. And it's really funny because I've been reading Thunderbolts, and obviously Kurt Busiek was writing Thunderbolts as he was also writing Avengers, and then he drops off of Thunderbolts, I want to say, after like issue 30 or 35 or something, or I can't remember. And then Fabian Nicieza takes over. But it's funny because a lot of the stuff in this book is crossing over from Thunderbolts. So there's a whole story arc with the Thunderbolts and the Avengers. And I think it's Maximum Security. I think that's kind of the tie-in with that. But there's this whole thing with Gravitron. I can't remember his name. He's a villain that uses gravity. But yeah, so I guess I'll be skipping that because I don't really need to read that again here. But regardless, like I said, this is a gap of Avengers material that I've never read. You know, like I said, I've read kind of the tangential stuff that's run with Thunderbolts, and then also with the Iron Man run, also written by Kurt Busiek. He was really busy during the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this series in its entirety. It was one of those series I just had half of it for a while there, and now I'm really glad, because I want to say, yeah, no, it's the first volume that has, the first volume has the Avengers Forever storyline. That comes earlier than this, but this collects issues 24 through 56 of the Avengers run by Kurt Busiek, number 1.5, and then annuals 2000 and 2001. Thunderbolts 42 through 44, which, like I said, I've already read. Maximum Security, Dangerous Planet, Maximum Security numbers 1 through 3, and Avengers, the Ultron Imperative. So really good stuff. Really excited to give this a read at some point. And 30 minutes later, that is my comic haul. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this. And like I said, we'll go ahead and get into the Lego here. All right, guys, so thank you so much for tuning into the Lego section here. So don't have too much to go through here for the Lego section. You know, as you can imagine with moving, it's definitely not the best time to be buying a lot of stuff. So like I said, this stuff has kind of just been sitting in a box for God knows how long. So that's why I'm like, you know what, let me just do a haul video, get this stuff off of this desk here and be done with it. So starting off with some smaller stuff, I did get some poly bags. So this one comes courtesy of my wife. She got this for me for, I think, Valentine's Day. So I appreciate that. I have a couple of these already, but I really enjoy keeping these Star Wars poly bags. As you guys know from this channel, I have started a sealed poly bag collection. So I keep those sealed, and hopefully one day I can sell them for maybe more than I paid for them. So really cool to get this TIE Interceptor one from last year. I bought 2 copies of this one. So that one is the Star Wars Millennium Falcon polybag, which I found out has been the first polybag Millennium Falcon we've gotten in like over 20 years. So that's insane to me to think about, that it's taken this long for us to get a polybag of a Millennium Falcon. But this one is great. Really like this. The shaping is perfect. A lot of the detail is nice. I did hear some people complaining that online there at the windshield is not printed, so that's a little bit of a letdown there. But nonetheless, this is a really great polybag, and one that I'm definitely gonna maybe buy some more of if they go on sale at some point, because I definitely think this one will resell better in the future. But yeah, really excited to build that. Maybe throw it on my desk for a little bit. I like keeping those little sets on my desk for a couple of months until a new one comes along, and then I put it away in storage or somewhere else. All right, this next one here my wife bought for me. And it's funny because I actually did not buy this one for myself yet, and I was going to, because there's a lot of controversy behind this set, and that is the Captain Rex's Y-Wing Microfighter. So for anyone who isn't familiar, this minifigure came out with the $650 Venator set from last year. And Lego at the time was like, yeah, this minifigure is exclusive to the Venator, which, as you can imagine, within a $600 set with this exclusive minifigure, this minifigure was going for crazy prices online. This is also the first time we've gotten a Phase 2 Rex in over 10 years. I think the last time we got one was 2013 with the Bark Speeder with Sidecar. So this was a giant middle finger to the Lego community when Lego released this, because a lot of people at the time thought that this was going to be an exclusive minifigure to the Venator, and Lego just went ahead and released this anyway, which absolutely plummeted this price and obviously pissed off a lot of people who spent a lot of money on this minifigure in the secondary market. But that wasn't me, so I really don't care that much. But you can see here on the back kind of what that looks like. It's a pretty basic set. Really great minifigure. The arm printing is just amazing. And again, just rubs more salt in the wound, I guess, for people who paid money for it. But more than anything for me, it's like, I wish, because normally with, I don't know what the stats are on this, but normally a lot of Microfighter sets are based off of sets that have already been built in either a UCS or a play scale version. And to this day, we have still not seen a play scale version of Captain Rex's Y-Wing, which I know for a fact, for me at least, that if that set ever got released, I would buy it. Maybe not right away, but eventually I would get it, because I would love to see a Y-Wing that's colored in Captain Rex's colors. I think that'd be really dope. But Lego obviously doesn't, know how to listen to their customers sometimes. So there's that. But yeah, really excited to get this. And it's funny, my wife, when I took it out of the bag, I was really happy I got it, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you already had this." And I'm like, "No." I said, this is the first one I have. So I definitely think I'm gonna buy another one here, because I know they've been going on sale, but I'm sure that set will retire at the end of the year, and I'll be able to find a really good sale for it. So I might buy another one to keep in my sealed collection for a rainy day, perhaps. But like I said, the value of that minifigure has drastically dropped, just because it can be found in a $10 set now versus a $650 set originally. So again, just little things like that. I totally understand where people are coming from. But for someone like myself, I'm glad I didn't go out and pay $650. Like, I'm not the type of person also who will go out and spend $250 on a minifigure just to have it, right? I mean, first of all, I don't want to spend that much on something, and secondly, I'm not in the game of collecting minifigures like some people are. Sure, I have some in my collection, but it's not like I have a business model around that or anything. So there's that. All right, some other smaller sets here. Picked up another battle pack, which the 332nd Trooper. I'm pretty sure this set's retired now. I mean, we're in 2025, and I think this set's already retired. I could be wrong. But regardless, pick one of those up. Probably will keep it sealed. Because it's funny, I was going through and organizing all my Lego sets after the move, and I have probably at least 20 battle packs sealed in my sealed collection. So those things I'm definitely not going to open. I definitely want to keep those sealed, and I think those will fetch a pretty penny. Maybe not right now, because obviously they're still available. You can still buy them at decent prices, but give it 5 or 10 years, I definitely think I'll be able to get a good amount of money on those. So we'll keep those there. The next one here, I bought kind of like a little splurge. I bought because I mentioned before I went on my honeymoon with my wife to Puerto Rico, and while we were there, we saw some of the forts in Old San Juan. One of them was Castillo San Felipe del Morro, and sure enough, I bought the little buildable fort of it. So this is not official Lego. This is some third brand type of thing, or third party type of building set. But this is only 17 bucks. I thought that was a pretty decent deal for this. So we'll give this a build at some point. These pieces are so tiny, looks like it, but yeah, we'll give this a build and maybe display it somewhere here in my room or downstairs. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so 2 more sets here to go through. So this next one I found was at BJ's. So BJ's had this on sale originally for 20% off, and I waited a little bit just because 20% off of this was still pretty expensive. And sure enough, I got this for around, I want to say like $23. And that is Jedi Bob Starfighter. So this is from the Rebuild the Galaxy series that came out on Disney Plus, I want to say, which I still haven't seen yet, but I'll have to watch it at some point. But this obviously, the reason why I bought this set was because of Jedi Bob. So for anyone who's not familiar, back in 2002, when Lego released the lineup of Star Wars Attack of the Clones Lego sets, they released the gunship. I think it was the gunship. The gunship had Jedi Bob as one of the Jedi, and everyone thought that was interesting because Jedi Bob is not really an actual character in the Star Wars movies. So they basically put like a generic Jedi character in the gunship set. So he's had kind of a cult following over the years for Lego Star Wars fans, and sure enough, they put him in the Rebuild the Galaxy show, and obviously he has his Starfighter here. So it's really insane to me how this set was originally 40 bucks, and obviously a lot of that is because of Jedi Bob. But if you just look at the sales on this set, the fact that I got this for $23 just shows you that the market is not willing to pay $40 for a Jedi Interceptor, right? Which is basically what this is. And sure enough, Lego this year goes ahead and releases a $45 Ahsoka's Jedi Starfighter set, which again, I took a look online just today, and it's already on sale. It's like $5 off already, which is not long into the product's life cycle, but that set is going to get heavily discounted too. I'm not buying it until it's less than $25. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's really insane what Lego is trying to charge for some of these sets now. I mean, the Arc 170 being 70 bucks is ridiculous. And obviously, just from some of these sales, it's showing that the market's not budging. The market, the consumers are not willing to pay that much for that. So I hope that sticks with Lego, and I hope they open with a better thing, because otherwise, I have no urge to buy things on first day of release anymore. I can't tell you the last time I bought a set day one of it being released, because I almost always know that there's going to be a sale on it, because the prices are just getting out of this world. And with all these tariffs and everything else going on now, I'm sure it's going to get even worse. So obviously it's not to the point where Lego or I'm getting priced out of the hobby. I don't think that day will ever come, but it's definitely making me think twice about pulling the trigger on some of these sets. And I mean, at this point, I'm almost kind of biding my time until we get to like that October, November timeframe where we see these insane sales for sets, like 50% off. And like, that's when I pull the trigger on some of this stuff, because otherwise I'm like, I can't afford to spend this much on a set, because, you know, it's just out of this world, right? But yeah, that's my little rant aside. Anyways, my last set that I have here was one that I bought with some Kohl's cash that my wife built up from a purchase at Kohl's. So she didn't have anything she wanted to get. Well, we actually split the Kohl's cash from this in a purchase we made at Kohl's together. But yeah, this set I bought because I thought this would be a nice piece to put like somewhere in like a common room in our townhome here. You know, and it's also kind of like, if not, like, you know, I know there's a lot of Lego spread throughout this place, and I don't want to overwhelm my wife with that much, because, you know, I'm already grateful that she allows me to display as much Lego as I do already. But this one was one that I had on my list for a while. Didn't really feel like paying $50 for it, so $40 obviously was a little bit better pill to swallow for this, and that is the Kingfisher set. So just a beautiful set. You know, I'm not like huge into birds per se, but I really think this will be a nice piece to build and, like I said, display somewhere in our common areas maybe, or if not, I can put this with the rest of my nature sets that I have in my collection. But yeah, really fun details here. You know, just the little platform it sits on with the little like vines and the water and the little shrubbery. The water effect really nice, and just the wings and the design is just very beautiful. I definitely think this is one of those sets that's just going to look a lot nicer once I actually build it, which I'm kind of hankering to build a Lego set, because with all the moving and everything else going on recently in my life, I haven't built a Lego set in like probably 4 months. So I'm kind of chomping at the bit to build a Lego set. I have a bunch to pick from here, obviously, and from other back stock I've had. Because once my wife and I decided on moving, I was like, okay, well, I definitely shouldn't build anything, because it's going to take up more space and be more annoying to have to move if I build the set than actually just packing up the boxes and transporting those. So that's what I did. So obviously I'll be building a lot here probably in the next couple of weeks, but you know, I'm also trying to set up my display area in a separate part of this house here. So that whole thing is kind of in progress too. So it's like, I don't want to build too many sets and have more backlog stuff to display. So there's a lot of moving parts, but obviously maybe at some point, once I get all that figured out, I'll do a tour or a video of it. You know, that area that I'm setting up in does not have the best lighting, so it may not be worth it, but we'll see. But anyways, that is my haul. I'm going to go put all this stuff away. But before I do that, we'll close out the video here. All right, guys, so long video here, but thank you guys so much for watching. As I always say, please consider liking, commenting, and as always, subscribing for more content. As you can guess, I have over 160 of these videos for you to go back and look through. But yeah, like I said, you know, this is 3 or 4 months of stuff. So, you know, we'll see when the next haul will be, you know, when I'll have enough stuff, I guess, built up to show that's worth showing, I guess, on the haul. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day, week, month, and year. And until next time, I will see you on the flip side.